This is the point in the show where our analyst joins me for the rest of the program to give us his personal take on the news and the issues of the day. And with me in the studio today is Arise News analyst and former chairman of the editorial board of Daily Trust newspaper, Mahmud Jega. Thank you very much indeed, Mahmud, for joining us. We started the program by talking about this move by the central bank to redesign the Naira. It had lots of import and potential impact. What's your assessment of the idea behind this move?
Okay, you see, what it reminded me immediately I had was the last currency change that we had in this country in 1984 under, incidentally, General Muhammadu Buhari's military government. It was a very traumatic experience because it was done suddenly and completely. The borders were closed and we had 1 month to change the money, and the new money was not available in the bank, so people had to line up. You see, the whole country was turned.
That's what happened to India, actually,
exactly,
in 2016.
Okay. Unfortunately, even after all this time, we still have to do currency change in a coup d'etat-like manner. You know, the Bank of England announced after the death of the Queen that they will be issuing some new notes with the picture of the King, but nothing traumatic about it. They say it will not be sudden. They will issue it gradually, and the two currencies will be legal tender concurrently, and there is no definite period by which the old money will be phased out. But here we are saying by mid-December we'll bring the new money, and by the end of January, that's in 6 weeks, all this other money will not be a legal tender. Now, the governor of the central bank gave some very good reasons, and Professor Ife also elaborated on it. There is so much money in circulation, we are not even sure how much. Some of it outside the country, some of it counterfeit, and everything. It is fueling the inflation and the depreciation of the Naira. And also, it enables the payment of ransom. There is so much money in the hands of criminals and all that. My only thinking was the timing, that on the other hand we are in the middle of an election campaign right now, and if the country is turned upside down like happened in 1984, maybe less so, because now there are more banks, especially in the urban areas. There is technology and everything. So maybe we may not have the same disruption, although I'm thinking of the rural areas that do not have as many banks, and they also have relatively more cash in hand, because the rural areas still operate mostly a cash economy. So if there is so much disruption, I think it will throw the election campaign out of gear.
But on a positive note,
yeah.
I mean, in a country where they've got the voting system apparently right, and the concern now is vote buying and influencing people outside the vote itself. I mean, couldn't this be seen as positive in the sense that it's going to mop up a lot of the cash that would have been perhaps used to wrongly influence the election?
Well, that one has been said, although the governor of the central bank didn't state that.
Yeah, he didn't state that explicitly.
He didn't say that explicitly as one of his aims. But what I was thinking is, if there is complete disruption and people are lining up in front of banks, trying to deposit money, trying to withdraw some of the new ones, and then it affects buying and selling, because like in 1984, once the new money began to come out, and it was in short supply, it was very difficult to get because the banks didn't have enough of it. Many traders stopped accepting the old one, even though officially it was
that's a good point.
Legal tender. Yep. Exactly. Many people will say, no, you know, I can't collect this old money from you. How do I put it in the bank and collect the new one? So that's the disruption I'm talking about.
That's a good point. And so really, there is concern that a lot of this the so-called black money that they're trying to mop up may actually affect ordinary people. In a really, it could hit them hard, not just the people who've got large amounts of it.
Exactly. Even if you have got a small amount, if you have to line up and put it in the bank, and the bank probably may not have enough of the new notes to release to you, then you might as well starve, honestly, because in 1984 a lot of that happened.
But are you sort of consoled by the fact that he's saying that from the 15th of December they'll introduce the new currency, but both will be in circulation until the 31st of January?
Even in 1984, that was what happened. And the difference even that time was that the government printed the new money before it made the announcement. It was just as sudden, because we just saw General Idiamo on television. He said the borders have been closed and the money change will begin from tomorrow. And we understood the money was printed abroad. Then Air Force planes brought it in and distributed it to central bank branches. So they already had the money, but it was not adequate, and the banks were issuing, because I remember that time, you go with your check for 15 naira and the bank will say, we are sorry, change it to 10 naira because that's all that we can afford. They were really rationing. Right. And it also caused a lot of social problems because of the chaotic nature of the exchange. People in one ward, for example, not everybody can go and line up for 3 or 4 days in the bank. Yeah. So they will collect their money and give to one person who is usually a thuggish fellow who can withstand that trauma. And he will go, he will deposit the money of about 50 people in the bank, but the bank will give him only a small amount, which he will come and say, although you gave me 50,000, I have only got 5,000 for you. The bank said later on they will give the rest. It led to crisis.
Yes, I can imagine.
Over many years.
I can imagine.
Yeah, because by the time he collects the rest of the money, many people wouldn't even know.
Yeah,
there are court cases and fights and everything.
Yeah, that's a good warning, and hopefully, because I mean this hasn't happened yet.
Yeah.
Hopefully, these things will be taken into account to make the process a little smoother. Let's. We've got about 2 minutes or so left. Let's talk about the Young Progressive Party. Malik Ado Ibrahim, their presidential candidate, was there. An impressive young man, talking about all kinds of ideas, and some of them quite revolutionary. What did you make of what he was saying?
Certainly, like his program is based on 3 major anchors: power supply, security, and the economy. And I'm not surprised, because he is an energy expert. And he has got very revolutionary ideas there about the energy mix, and how, instead of worrying so much about all the national grid, you can actually install small power, mixed power solutions in different areas. As he said, 5 megawatts in one small area, and you can do that all over the country. That's quite revolutionary, and we hope to try. We should try it, so that we don't even have this collapse of the national grid. Absolutely. That the whole country will be in darkness. In
other words, not everyone is dependent on the national grid.
Exactly.
Basically. Yeah.
Yeah, and then you see other things he said about trying to have a $1 trillion economy. Well, some things I'm sure are easier said than done, but if he works out the plans very carefully, and then we have integration between different tiers of government and the public and the private sector, and we also have continuity, because that's another problem we have in this country. You don't want somebody to start a major project and then another government comes and says that one is his own.
Which
project.
Is what has happened
again and
in
again.
the past. Yeah,
that's true.
Okay, Mahmud Jega, always interesting talking with you. You kind of have a way of bringing things down to earth, so that those who are getting overly inspired have a dose of realism. Thank you very much indeed. Mahmud Jega is an Arise News analyst and former chairman of the editorial board of Daily Trust newspaper. That's it for this edition of Arise Primetime. Join us again tomorrow. From me and the entire team here in Abuja, bye-bye, and thank you for watching.